In Meghalaya, something's happening with the state assembly. Its doors seem to be closing more and more often. You see, the sessions are getting shorter, the debates are getting quieter, and that raises a really big question. What is the actual cost of this silence for the people who live there? Let's break down this crisis of oversight.
And that brings us to this really provocative question at the heart of our source material. It's a sharp way to put it, right? It just gets straight to the point. If the people we elect aren't spending their time in the assembly debating, questioning, and, actually legislating, then what are they doing?
And look, this isn't just a hunch or a feeling, it's a confirmed trend. The upcoming winter session is set to be one of the shortest in history. Just think about that for a second. We're talking about a handful of days to tackle issues that affect millions of people and a budget worth billions. It's a huge disconnect. So you might be wondering, okay, a few days here or there, what's the big deal? Well, that number, the actual count of sitting days, it's like a vital sign for the health of a democracy. It's the real difference between a government that's held accountable and one that can pretty much do what it wants without any scrutiny. So let's dive into what's actually getting lost in that silence.
This really brings us back to basics. What is the job of a legislator? It's not just about getting elected, it's about the day-in, day-out work of governing, of holding power in check. And a huge chunk of that work, it can only happen when the assembly is actually in session.
It all comes down to this key concept: legislative oversight. Honestly, you can think of it like the immune system for a democracy. It's the whole process that's designed to question big decisions, to check the receipts on spending, and to make absolutely sure the government is working for the people.
So when the assembly doesn't meet, these functions just vanish. That opportunity to ask tough questions during question hour, it's gone. The chance to really dig into critical financial reports and government spending, that disappears. And maybe most importantly, the platform for your representative to voice your concerns is effectively turned off.
And this isn't happening by accident. Our source material points out that this is actually a classic political playbook move. An executive branch that wants to avoid tough questions can just shorten the sessions. The formula is simple. Less time for debate inside the chamber means more unchecked power outside of it.
So what are the real-world consequences of this? What happens on the ground when the most important democratic body in the state goes quiet? Well, the problems don't just magically disappear. They actually get worse. This quote from our source is incredibly powerful. The argument is that when failures aren't being debated or questioned in the assembly, that silence basically acts as a form of consent. It's like letting these massive problems grow without the one intervention that could actually fix them: legislative action.
And we're not talking about abstract stuff here. We're talking about billions in state debt, actual riots in the streets over jobs, and infrastructure that's literally crumbling. Every single one of these crises deserves weeks of intense debate, not just a quick mention in a 3-day session. It's like citizens are being told their problems just aren't a priority.
And what's worse, these super short sessions often have just one purpose: asking for more money. They become rubber stamp meetings to approve what's called supplementary demands, which is just a fancy term for more government spending, all without any real debate about where the money is actually going.
Now, to really understand just how big this issue is, we need some perspective. How does Meghalaya's situation compare to other states? Well, the answer, as you're about to see, is pretty shocking.
Okay, so is there a magic number? How many days should a state assembly meet? While there's no single perfect answer, there's a huge difference between an active legislature and one that's basically dormant. Let's see what the data shows us.
Wow! Just look at this chart. The gap is massive. On average, the Meghalaya Assembly meets for only about 20 days a year. Now, compare that to a state like Kerala, which averages around 60 days. That's a threefold difference. That's 3 times more opportunity for debate, for scrutiny, for lawmaking.
Let's put that in plain numbers. That's a gap of 40 working days. That is 2 full months of legislative work that is just not happening.
So where does all this leave us? More importantly, where does it leave you, the citizen? Well, our source material doesn't just throw a problem at us and walk away. It actually gives us the tools to become part of the solution, just by asking the right questions.
You see, the point here isn't to just give you a simple answer. It's to arm you with the tools to investigate this for yourself and, hold your representatives accountable. It's about shifting from being a passive observer to an active citizen.
So here's your mission, and it's actually pretty simple. First, just count the days. How many days did the assembly really meet? Second, go look up the official agenda. It's public information. And third, see if the issues that really matter, like the state's finances or the job crisis, are even on the schedule to be discussed.
You should be asking this. Is that agenda packed with serious debates that will take hours? Or is it full of ceremonial stuff that can be wrapped up in a few minutes?
And this really gets to the heart of it all, right? Is the point of this session to have a real democratic discussion, or is it just a formality to sign off on more government spending, no questions asked?
And this is the final crucial question our source leaves us with. Being an MLA is a full-time job. It's salaried. It's paid for by taxpayers. So if the most important part of that job happens inside the assembly, why is it only happening for about 20 days a year? That's a question every single citizen has the right to ask. Thanks for tuning in.